Hey guys, welcome into the podcast today. My name is Ashton, and today we are going to be talking about the Hawks versus the Bucks. What kind of transpired so far through this series, and then we are going to talk about the Suns versus the Clippers. And pretty much today, the entire podcast is going to be basically just the NBA playoffs. So let's strap in and get ready. So the Bucks versus the Hawks. I really didn't see this series happening whatsoever. I thought that the Bucks would definitely be here. Well, the Nets actually definitely thought the Nets would be here, not the Bucks. And the Hawks, they kind of upset the 76ers in the last series. They just, man, Ben Simmons, he needs to do some work this summer for the 76ers, but the Hawks ended up winning that series against the 76ers, and the Nets, what ended up happening with the Nets imploding was Kyrie Irving was injured, so was James Harden. James Harden had hamstring problems, so he wasn't as quick as he used to be. He wasn't able to do a lot of things that he normally would be able to do if he were healthy. So it was a slowed down version of James Harden and no Kyrie Irving. So that meant Kevin Durant had to go Superman mode, and he was able to do it for a game, but he wasn't able to do it to win the series. He was pretty close though, because in Game 7, he hit a game tying three, and then he tried that shot in overtime, the same exact shot, but he airballed it because he had played so many minutes and was just tired, and so he airballed that shot, the same exact shot, where he would look at the basket, do a fadeaway three kind of looking shot, and he had made it the first time, which I thought it was an all right shot at the time because it's Kevin Durant. But I feel like the second time it was forced, and that he didn't need to take that shot, and he could have gotten a way better shot. But at the same time, it's Kevin Durant. You want the ball in the best player's hands, and whatever happens. So. But yeah, so my predictions have gone out the window, as you can see. From these four teams right now, and I could still be wrong, I still see the Bucks advancing. I think the Bucks thought and came in that the Hawks would not play their best basketball, that the Hawks would just throw in the towel because their best player's not playing, which is Trae Young, who, if you didn't know, rolled his ankle on the ref's foot by accident. It was kind of like a freak thing that happened. It wasn't intentional. And so Trae Young didn't play a single minute of last night's game, and the Hawks just came out and were really aggressive and played really well. Lou Williams kind of went off. The whole team as a whole went off, but especially him because he's supposed to be in LA with the Clippers, but the Clippers traded him to Atlanta. And so now he's in Atlanta kind of doing what he's doing. And so the Hawks needed this, and now the series is tied 2-2. I say the Bucks in 6. It could be 7, but I'm going to say 6. I want to make a bold prediction and say 6. The Bucks, they can't blow it like the Suns. And the Suns, let me get to that. The Suns, right now, they're up 3-2 against the Clippers. Their most recent game, they didn't look the greatest. They could have played a lot better, obviously. And DeAndre Ayton was he wasn't really involved. When DeAndre Ayton gets involved, that's when the Suns are really hard to stop. Because the Clippers don't have an answer for DeAndre Ayton. They really don't. For one specific defensive player, there's nobody that can guard him as a collective unit. That's when they're able to guard him. So DeAndre Ayton wasn't getting the ball much in this past game. He only had 10 points and 11 rebounds. So it wasn't like his usual performance where he puts up 20 and 15. So you're kind of like, well, why? What is the drastic drop off here? And so he wasn't able to get rebounds, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. They didn't run any offense through him, so they weren't getting him the ball. They were just kind of Chris Paul and Devin Booker were kind of trying to do it themselves, and those guys weren't really putting up offensive production. And when those two guys aren't putting offensive production up, you need it from DeAndre Ayton, in which they weren't getting DeAndre Ayton the ball. So it's like then nobody's really providing the offensive production. And when Devin Booker and Chris Paul aren't going, you want the ball in DeAndre Ayton's hands. And when you don't deliberately give it to him, then you're just putting yourself in a pickle. And the Suns basically did that. And you also have to credit the Clippers' defense as well. Cornering Ayton into a hole and basically taking Ayton out of the game plan for the Suns completely. And they need to get DeAndre Ayton more involved in the next game. The Suns do. The Clippers, they have to play another desperate game. Reggie Jackson, he's been going off. He's been doing great. Terrence Mann, he's got to play well. Paul George has to have another almost 40-point type of night game. And I say Boogie Cousins, he's going to have to play well. Nick Batum, he's going to have to play well. There's really no room for error for the Clippers, because if you have a whole lot of error, this is the last game you're not going to play. And the Clippers versus the Suns, they played 8 tonight on ESPN, so I would tune into that. And if there is a Game 7, it would be July 2nd, also on ESPN, most likely 8 p.m. as well. But the Clippers in Suns series has been tremendous. I kind of could see both of these teams. I could see 3 of these 4 teams winning it all. And I could have definitely seen 3 of these 4 teams potentially making it into their conference finals this year. The only team I never saw getting there was the Hawks. And I have this example that I thought it would be really funny to share. So the odds of the Hawks making the Eastern Conference Finals was like walking in on your best friend smoking 20 grams of cocaine that he got from his grandmother's purse. What are the odds of that happening? Slim to none. Which were the Hawks' chances in my eyes. That's how I viewed it. That was the first thing that came to my mind when that example I don't know where I got that example from. It just came naturally. So you get a little sneak peek into what goes through my mind every day, I guess. And so I really didn't think the Hawks had a chance to even get here before the start of the season. I would have thought it would be an Eastern Conference rematch of the Celtics and Heat, or the Celtics and Nets, or something like that. I never in a million years would have thought that the Hawks would have made it this far. And I have to give the Hawks credit. And even halfway through this season, they weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs, because Nate McMillan, their head coach, he wasn't even there. He was kind of out on the open market looking for his next job. And the Hawks fired their head coach, who was doing not really a good job, and they brought in Nate McMillan. And Nate McMillan, he turned that whole franchise around, really, to be completely honest, and got them into a winning situation. Trae Young, he was an all-star. He was playing like an all-star, but he wasn't playing up to his full potential of being like an absolute star in this league, an absolute superstar in this league. He was doing kind of like sort of all-star things, sort of not. His team was losing. It looked like he was going to miss the playoffs again. And Nate McMillan came in and really got him developed on the offensive end of the side of the ball. Got him thinking situationally about shot clock, how much time's left on the shot clock, what's the best, what I should do in transition, what offensively, half-court sets should I run, how to get others involved. And Trae Young was already putting up assists before he got there, but his assist numbers got even better because of Nate McMillan, because he got the others involved. He knows how to run the offense more efficiently. And the Hawks weren't doing those things when Nate McMillan first arrived. It was just kind of Trae Young would pull up with 20 seconds up in the shot clock, and he would just hoist up a long three. And I saw a clip of this, and his teammates would just, on the bench, would just put their hand on their head like, what is this man doing? Like, we have another 20 seconds that we can get something going and get an open shot. Why are we throwing a shot from half court? Even though you want Trae Young to kind of do those things, he's not Steph Curry. He's not shooting it at a 40% clip. He's shooting it at a 35% clip, but you kind of want somebody with that is going to consistently shoot it to make those shots and to shoot those shots if they're open. And Trae Young can definitely hit them, but it's like 1 out of every 4 he's going to hit those. So it's like, I'd rather you just get a closer 3-point shot or hit or get somebody else open that can shoot and hit the 3. And so the Hawks, that turnaround, Nate McMillan, him getting into that organization turned that whole franchise around. And that was probably the best thing for that franchise, and since Trae Young arrived. And so that team is playing up to its potential right now. And right now, I really don't see the Hawks taking the Bucks to 7 games or winning the Eastern Conference Finals. Even if they were to, they're not going to beat either of the team in the Western Conference Finals. That's for sure. They're not going to beat the Clippers or the Suns. I don't see that. That is the last thing on my mind that's happening. And so the Hawks will probably go to they'll probably lose these next 2 games is my assumption. I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I think the Clippers win in 7. I'm going to go with that bold prediction. I say the Clippers win in 7. Even though I had the Suns and Nets in my last finals. I don't know. Something about Paul George right now. He's killing it in the Suns. Against the Suns. He's killing them right now. I feel like there is no answer for Paul George. And he just has to have one other person step up offensively and carry the load. And right now that has been Reggie Jackson. And you got to give Reggie Jackson all the credit in the world. And guys like Terrence Mann that stepped up in the Western Conference semifinals. He hit that guy. Terrence Mann had a 38-point outing against the Jazz. And when you thought that the Jazz would have ran away with that series with Kawhi Leonard being injured, Terrence Mann stepped up and he closed the deal. He showed up and had a big performance, and we got to give credit where credit is due. And so the Clippers, just in my eyes, they're the underdogs, and they have been playing like the underdogs, and no reason why they wouldn't be playing like the underdogs here in the next 2 games. I mean, they're not getting the credit that they deserve, I feel like. Paul George, I'm going to say it, he's a top 5 player right now in the NBA. And he will solidify that if he goes to the NBA Finals. Now, the Suns can obviously win the next game, and my bold prediction out the window, like my other predictions. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm gonna make that statement. I say that the Clippers in 7, and I say the Bucks will win in 6, and we will get the Clippers versus the Bucks. And if Kawhi Leonard doesn't come back in the finals, the Bucks will win the NBA championship. But if Kawhi Leonard does come back, Clippers in 6. Bucks, I would say, in 6 as well, if Kawhi Leonard does not show up. So I don't see the finals going in 7 games. Both teams, it would be 6 games. If Kawhi Leonard comes back, they win in 6. If Kawhi Leonard doesn't come back, Bucks in 6. So that's kind of my bold prediction for the day. And that is my prediction of the NBA Finals. And I think that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning in today. And I'm trying to get somebody on my podcast. That person will remain anonymous until that person were to come on. So thank you guys for joining into my podcast today. I am on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, I believe, as well. And if you were to search Ashton Baker Podcast just on Google alone, my podcast shows up. It's the first and only podcast that shows up, so that should be easy enough for you as well. All right, guys, thank you for listening in today, and have a great rest of your day. All right, bye-bye.